Good evening, and welcome to the Albright Scholar for August 2018. My name is John Pankratz. I teach history at Albright, and each month it's my privilege to welcome BCTV viewers and residents of Greater Reading to take a glimpse inside our learning community up here on North 13th Street, to look at the work being done by teachers and students, and to think about its impact on all of us. Well, the middle of August is an interesting time. My colleagues are wrapping up their summer research projects and are gearing for the classroom, where we'll see an onslaught of new students as well as returning students. Today we're going to talk about ACRE research, an Albright creative research experience, but it's going to bridge that gap, I guess, between summertime research and what goes on in the classroom. Because I have two guests who have been working on an ACRE but preparing a first-year seminar at the same time. My guests are Dr. Beth Keister from the Department of Sociology, on for her third time. Beth, welcome.
Welcome. Nice to be back.
Yeah, and her ACRE student, Joe Holoko, who is a rising sophomore computer science major.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think regular viewers know what an ACRE is, but Joe, why don't you tell us why you, as a freshman, really, with other things that you could have been doing with your summer, decided to stay on campus, do a lot of hard intellectual work?
Well, the main reason really is that I love Star Wars, and as we'll cover over this topic in this talk, is that this course was heavily based in Star Wars. So being able to research something that I loved all the way as a kid, growing up till now, has been a lot of fun.
Great. And Beth, you've directed ACRES before, participated in ACRES before. How did this? What's the genesis of this particular idea?
Oh my goodness. So I was scheduled to teach here at Albright we have a first year seminar that all of our incoming freshmen take. And I began thinking about doing one of these as well. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to teach students, but also to incorporate a really fun subject that maybe you can't major in. Right. And as a fan of Star Wars, I thought, why not have a class on the sociology of Star Wars? Oh. But as I started to put it together, I realized I have not been a student in a very long time. I needed the help.
That means that I'm very, 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 very long. So
I decided to recruit the help of a student who is exactly that, a subject master in being a student, who could also maybe help talk to students about Star Wars. That's how this came about.
How cool! Are other schools doing things like this, incorporating this high degree of student partnership and input in course design?
So what the traditional ACRE here at Albright looks like is in fact students as partners, sure. Students and faculties partnering together. So lots of schools do that, where students and faculty work on subject-based research. What we did in curriculum design is actually pretty new, where a student actually had full say into what to read, what to watch, what the assignments look like, questions on the quiz, right? He's got all the information. He's been part of the design from day one.
Oh, how great! And how did you get recruited for this?
Oh, it came about, or this partnership came about originally as an advertisement. There was an advertisement on a computer lab bulletin board, and it said, "Hey, I'm looking for a student who's familiar with the first year seminar and the experience, and someone who loves Star Wars. So please contact me."
Well, that's about 1,600 students at our college.
Well, you'd be surprised. It's not quite that many, but the variety of students that did come and did apply with me, Joe just stood out as somebody who had the capacity to really excel and be a true partner in this curriculum design project, and he absolutely did that.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's my sense. Hearing you talk at ACRE lunches and everything, I've just sensed that it's been a great partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's going to be an exciting course
hopefully.
as well. The sociology of Star Wars. There's a history to Star Wars and there's a future to Star Wars. Are is your hope that people are going to learn a lot more about Star Wars or a lot more about sociology, or both, I guess?
So what I always tell an introduction to sociology student,
Yeah.
or in any of the basic sociology classes, is that I don't always hope to teach you something new. I hope to give you a new lens to appreciate something that's already part of your world.
Right.
And what a better world than to think about social interaction than the world of Star Wars. George Lucas has given us a breadth of characters, a breadth of planets and contexts
different
to think
communities.
about, that we can think about basic ideas of social interaction, social forces. We can also we're going to talk about the big things like race, class, and gender.
And one of the best reasons, again, for picking Star Wars is the fact that each of the trilogies that came out have come out across very different time periods. Like we have, the different sections of years, because originally the original trilogy came out in the 70s and the 80s, and then the prequel trilogy came out in the early 2000s, and now we're just getting the last of the sequel trilogy now here in 2018 is coming out, 2019 is coming out. So yeah, so it's a big difference, and in our course we're trying to strive that context matters and what was happening in the real world going on at these releases.
Okay, yeah, and that strikes me as a historian as really crucial. The 1970s were not the world that we live in today, and so there's this sociology of Hollywood, I guess, and sociology of movie-going audiences behind the sociology of these worlds and these persons and these characters.
And we're even going to read an article, John, that these 18-year-old students are going to have to contend with Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, also known as Star Wars, how that name evolved and how the fandom behind Star Wars really helped him buy public support for his particular weapons program.
Yeah, this really strikes me as ingenious because very often students have to learn a lot of content about any subject before they can get into the really fun analytical process and the methods of explaining and understanding. But here, a lot of students are going to have done the preparation for this course well in advance, and so you'll be able to get into some fairly sophisticated kinds of analysis.
And the great thing about this interdisciplinary project is it makes me so proud to hear Joe talking about the context of the trilogies, because as a computer science major, that's something he hadn't considered. That's something that we've talked about in our in the sociological examination.
Right.
And so one of the great things is Joe has been able to say, wait, you're using this term and I don't understand it.
Okay.
Make sure you explain that term because you're speaking sociology. And so that's helped me to really kind of, again, even back up and explain things from ground one.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important piece of a first-year seminar course, too, because every student's coming from different backgrounds, whether they're homeschooled or going to private or public schools. So every student's coming from a different area. They may not have taken sociology. Coming in to see a course, it'd be nice. And since I have very little sociology background, it was very easy for me to be like, oh, hold on, we got to slow down on this topic. Let's explain this a little bit more.
Experienced, successful, but also a little bit naive yourself. How perfect, how perfect. And that's true. I mean, we obviously want to communicate the content of our courses and our ideas. But we don't always know what's being heard and what's being processed or how it's being processed. And I think to have that second eyes, but also you're empowered to talk back to the teacher, right?
Yeah.
In a way that the student enrolled in the class might not feel comfortable.
Absolutely. That's an important part of the pedagogy of students as partners that we're practicing, is that this idea that it's a threshold, that once the student and the faculty can cross that threshold to be true partners, it will shape both of their experiences going forward. And I know my experience has been changed permanently in how I can look for student feedback, and I hope Joe's is the same feeling. He can speak up to a faculty member and say, that didn't work, that didn't quite resonate.
And also a common theme in the research that was already available and in our own work was, again, that threshold concept and the fact that I know that I'll go ahead in my future classes and be like, hey, I want more student input. And also I'm hoping that Dr. Keister goes up and says like, oh, I want more student input in all of my future courses.
Yeah. In some ways, Joe is going to be your partner in all your classes from now on.
You know,
Even after he graduates, you'll remember his eyes on your own practice.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely.
How great. How great. I know that, I've had experiences with students who in their junior or senior year have maybe had two classes with me already, and they feel comfortable enough to correct me or to advise me or counsel me. And that is a really valuable thing. But here, this was designed as part of your acre.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Joe, are you going to be able to visit the class or sit in the class or be a presence in the class as well as a designer?
I won't be able to be there personally because of the fact that I'm also taking courses at the exact same time slot of the course.
Same time.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but it is, we have taken that into account because since I've been a part of everything within the course, and another way of being able to evaluate it is we made different evaluation techniques for the students to be able to take in my absence, that way we can still see if it's a successful course or not when they get to the end of it. And then also within the classes to make sure that they know that I was there and being in charge or being part of like a 50-50 relationship on what's happening in this course is we're actually going to be showing videos of me giving little tips and tricks and little ideas of what's going on in the class.
So you're going to crank up R2-D2 and Joe's going to be projected as a hologram in the classroom?
Yeah, help me.
Do we have a smart classroom that's capable of those kinds of 3D projections?
Yeah, help me, Joe. You're my only hope in passing this class. We've got videos again dispersed throughout the semester where I'll show them in class, and they'll also be available on our Moodle website for students to refer to. So when I say this is what you should do to pass this assignment, Joe's going to say, you should really do what she said to pass this assignment, because she's not kidding. There's no tips and tricks, because often we find that incoming freshmen are new to college, and they're trying. Well, of course, they're new to college, but they're new to the concept of college, and it's not just high school 2.0. And so trying to convince them that what we say is what we mean sometimes can be one of the biggest obstacles. And that was where putting in these student-driven tips and tricks was to really reaffirm that what I'm saying is actually what I mean. It's actually what I want. I'm not trying to get you to fail the class. There's no sand trap. What I mean is what I really want you to do to succeed, and I want you to succeed, and so Joe's just there to reinforce that.
Yeah. And also, in my opinion, that it actually sets a good pace of the class, because they'll eventually see me come into a video and I'll be like, hey, hopefully your papers went well, here's what's coming up, here's what you just had to finish, and things like that. So it sets the pace.
So in some ways, you're almost the tutor for the class as well. Oh, how great. In terms of the course content, I know you'll be seeing some films, and the films will be available for individual viewing. Are there some texts as well?
So the course is almost exclusively electronic PDFs. We scoured a dozen or more books on sociology, sociology of science and philosophy, and Star Wars and religion and philosophy, and we took little tiny pieces from everything, as well as a lot of pop culture. So a lot of that reading is going to come electronically, which is great for the students because that's free. We do have one required text. We will be reading Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Because this is something as a college we've really decided to adopt in most of our first year seminars.
I'm using it in 2 of my classes.
Yeah, we're embracing this idea of a common read. The book is really, it's a letter by an African American man written to his African American son about what it means to be African American in this day and age. It's a really powerful read, and again, as a campus, we've decided to adopt this, and I couldn't turn that opportunity down. So we'll be spending some time reading that book, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and we're actually going to do Star Wars and race to follow it right up. We'll tie what we've learned about race and sociology and this close reading of the text and tie it right back into Star Wars.
Yeah, I expect this to be a consciousness raiser literally for the entire freshman class. And I think it's going to bring a kind of depth to anything else that they're studying.
I agree. I absolutely think that's what is going to happen. That's my hope as to what will happen.
Yeah.
Great. And this is, in some ways, one of the first times that Albright has experimented with having not just one class, but an entire entering class encountering the same book and the same set of ideas.
Absolutely.
So the hope is that there's a conversation that extends beyond.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Now, do any of your fellow upperclassmen know that this class is happening?
Yeah.
Are there going to be people who say, "Oh, I wish that had been a first-year seminar when I was a freshman"?
That's actually some of the exact quotes that I got from some of my friends as I was telling them, like, hey, I'm able to do this research. This is what I'm making over the summer, and it's going to be a course available in the fall, and hopefully for many years to come. And it just yeah, that happened multiple times where everyone's like, oh man, I wish I didn't take my FYS yet, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to put that
Well,
out
yeah.
until your senior year. That's true. Because I know there's a lot of people confer a lot of deep stakes on issues of Star Wars. They really do talk about it as a kind of religion, as a kind of reality, and they go through the same process of explanation and belief and testing for consistency that you would with a theology or that you would with a sociological analysis.
In both the U.S. and the U.K. census, hundreds of thousands of people write in Jedi as their religion of choice.
That's my favorite fun fact of Star Wars' reach into the world.
And why not?
And why not?
Oh my, yeah, yeah. And I've overheard these kinds of conversations, and I'll identify this. He's kind of the himself a Jedi master, I guess. He's a senior, and he'll talk chapter and verse about each episode and why this relationship doesn't really make sense in episode 5 because of what happened in episode 2 and.
Yeah, where I'm hopeful to have plenty of those kinds of conversations, to be able to hold my own.
Right.
I do admit to being kind of a traditionalist, having grown up with the original trilogy. Joe's brought me into the world of the Clone Wars and Rebels a little bit more, the newer cartoons.
Yeah.
And I've already reached out to the class just to sort of get a pulse on what their familiarity is with the saga. And so far, the outlook is promising. People seem to be extremely familiar with the films and pretty excited about the prospect of this class. So I'm pleased.
Right, we have our class lists already, and so you've been able to communicate with them.
Absolutely.
And Joe, you have too. You've introduced yourself.
Yes, I sent a little excerpt of myself in my email so they can actually contact me if they ever wanted to. And of course, first day of school, they'll be seeing my video of, hey, welcome to this course. Thank you for taking it.
Yeah.
Great, great. Now, what we don't know is whether the peer orientation people, the POPs, and their groups are going to coincide with courses or not.
I have not heard officially. I know that was the intent.
That's what we tried last year, and we had some success with that.
Yeah, so that hopefully when the students get broken into their orientation groups, they'll already be with their FYS classmates, at least to a certain degree, and they will already be able to start talking about Star Wars.
Right. And then you can contact those POPs and make sure that they're up to speed.
Absolutely.
As well. Oh, that's very, very exciting. Are you going to recommend this same kind of process and course development process and students as partner process to your colleagues?
Joe and I have a plan. We hope to take this show on the road. We've already
make yourselves an Albright famous.
We have already applied to take it to a conference of colleges who get together and just talk about teaching techniques.
Right.
So we've already applied to that. We'll see how that goes. We've also built some evaluation mechanisms that Joe already mentioned into the class, where we're going to be able to collect some data.
Great.
Faculty like data. They want something other than Joe and I saying this was good, this worked.
Yeah.
So we're going to collect some data this fall while I teach the class, and then in January Joe and I will be evaluating it.
Yeah.
Great. So this is a real commitment.
Yes, the road does not stop at the end of the summer. We're still definitely moving forward with this.
Right. And certainly what works with students, that's our question. We're thinking about it all the time.
Yep.
And you're going to come up with some really exciting answers to it.
I hope so. I hope they're as excited as Joe and I have been.
Yes.
Great. So you'll be going off to galaxies far beyond our own and spreading this good word.
All the way down to Atlanta, Georgia.
Good. Now, Joe, is there any chance that sociology is going to become part of your major, computer science and sociology?
I definitely want to explore it more in some degree because, again, coming into it with no background and then now being a part and being a co-creator of a course in sociology has really opened my eyes to the subject and to see what's up. So I'm definitely going to probably try and take 1 or 2 more courses throughout the year.
Yeah, and certainly computer skills are not a bad thing to have for a sociologist.
No. For all the sociology that I taught him, he was able to teach me all sorts of great things. He could figure out things on Moodle and Excel and systems he had never even seen. I could say, here, go learn this quiz system or go learn this survey method, and he would come back and say, okay, I did this, now what?
Said, wait, it took me 2 weeks to master that program, and he said, no, it's all there. It's intuitive.
I've been using Moodle for 5 years, and he said, just click right there. So yeah, I'm sure he's just appalled at my computer skills, but again, it was just a great interdisciplinary partnership that I would absolutely do in a very interdisciplinary way again, if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really exciting. It has me thinking ahead to ACRES in the future and what my colleagues are going to be doing. And I'm guessing that our home viewers are thinking, oh, if only I could be 18 and take a class like that.
I've heard a little bit of that on my own Facebook wall as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, we may have you guys back on in January or February next year and find out what you've learned, find out how it went, and
hopefully some successful evaluations and some liking of the course.
right. And of course, as all the first year seminars are supposed to do, elicit that deep engagement in the college experience on the part of your students. Yeah, I think college is fun. So
We hope so too.
I hope so. Great. Joe, Beth, thanks so much for joining us on the Albright Scholar
Thank you
tonight.
for having us.
Great. We'll look forward to seeing you again as well in another month's time. We'll be talking about the cultural calendar and arts events at Albright in our September episode of the Albright Scholar. Good night.